India live with live-in relationships? Are we ready for it? An NGO in Ahmedabad recently organized a compatibility meeting for people above 50. Yes, in Narendra Modi's Gujarat. Does that indicate a process of social change? But then the seniors were there to find partners, to counter loneliness, to look for friendships. So is change really coming? That's what we find out in Prime tonight.
Although many of us would like to pretend relationships other than those sanctioned by the powers that be do not exist, the fact is they do. They're inevitable. One manifestation of the reality which leaves us red-faced, righteous, secretly envious, baffled or even thrilled is live-in relationships. But what is the fuss about, one might ask? Can't a man and a woman decide to be roommates, just as they would have same-sex roomies? Do we honestly think a man and a woman sharing the same space need to have a sizzling chemistry? Can't it simply be convenience, even if it is not, even if it is a love relationship, or even a physical equation? Isn't it the prerogative of two adults to decide the direction they want the relationship to take? And if their scheme of things includes a live-in relationship, what is the big deal? At the risk of sounding sentimental, one has to concede that at this point in time, people, especially women from small towns or those who have had a traditional upbringing, don't really get deep into any kind of relationship unless they have feelings attached. That said, not having the security of a marriage or commitment to fall back on would leave a woman insecure. A live-in relationship gone sour would not be easy to get over. On the other hand, if a couple feels they're compatible enough to live together, what is wrong with the simple act of marriage? If it comes to that, it does not even have to be elaborate.
Well, why more and more people are opting for this out-of-marriage arrangement, we find out from our guests tonight. Neelam Mansingh, Padma Awardee and a renowned theatre artist, Sherry Sabharwal, Department of Sociology, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Ginny Manpreet, counsellor and astrologer, Gurminder Singh, former Additional Advocate General, Punjab, and Kitty Mukherjee, Principal Director, Institute of Mass Communication Studies in Paddi. Well, thank you all for being with me this evening. And Neelam, if I do begin with you, of course, I want to go back to the story of Ahmedabad, where we have 50 plus people who had come out looking for a relationship, looking for a man looking at a woman, and both ways. You know, because earlier live-in relationship was particularly, at least the way everybody saw it, was with the young, the pop culture, and that's where live-in was. But here we are looking at an age group which is much, much bigger. So what did you think of it?
Well, I thought it was really a wonderful space in which people who have crossed a certain age, which you feel they are thinking of the opposite sex, coming together and making choices. Because I personally believe and feel that once you've crossed a certain age, then the need for companionship is far more defined and far more deeply etched within you. Because it's at that stage in your life when you have fulfilled a certain worldly ambition. Maybe your kids have got married and flown away. Maybe you've lost a partner or you've separated from a partner. And at that stage in your life, the need for companionship, much more than the kind of relationship which you envisage when you're in your early 20s or beginning of your 30s, it kind of is a shift into another need for sharing your life with another human being.
Right. Sherry, is this a change that we see around us with modern day living? You know, you have more divorces coming in, you have nuclear families, then you have this whole old age loneliness, old age homes, in fact. So is this a change in trend?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, because as you said, so many things are changing. But then we must remember how many people are actually indulging in these activities.
Right.
How many of the people, I mean, even Ahmedabad case, you mentioned that it applies equally to males and females. It doesn't. Very few women turned up. Mostly it was men
than the men
who came there.
Yes, yes.
So it's still, the taboos still hold strong, the earlier ones. And come to think of it, you know, what was the advertisement of this NGO? They were ultimately saying, we are asking you to have live-in relationships with future marriage in mind. So marriage still remains the ideal. And moreover, live-in relationships are nothing but an arrangement which is like marriage, similar to marriage.
Would you agree with that, Ginny? Is it on the way? Is it, like live-in hasn't really come in, it's just an arrangement.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
I think over the period of time, we've realized that we are all becoming very independent. We want very specific things, and even the youngsters are not ready to commit. I think we are becoming a little bit of a cowards here, that we want everything without the final plunge. So even if they do go in for a live-in arrangement, does it really mean that we are going to be happy later on? That is a question that I don't think nobody is answering. We can live in, and then after some time we do get bored out of the whole thing, and then what? We keep hunting for newer people all the time, or we should really sit back, really decide what we want, and then try to put in a little bit of an effort. We are being a little bit of a cowards now, I think.
Yeah.
We need to be a little more more specific in what.
Before I go to the relationship, I want to have your view on this. What do you think? Is it a change that is coming in? Is live-in going to be, I won't say acceptable, but it is something that one looks into?
I would say yes, it is a change which we are all seeing, and I take it very positively. I feel that this is something slowly we are accepting in our society, and when it comes to the Ahmedabad case, well, it was about the elderlies. For me, live-in relationship is something like we all are looking for companionship. It's all about sharing and caring, and maybe at that stage people felt, and you know, it is like it is a social change which is coming up.
Right. Social changes, and yes, but Gurvinder, giving it a law perspective, you know, looking at live-in relationships, by its taboo because it's not accepted. So, I mean, if the law gives it acceptance, would it then be fine to have a live-in arrangement?
Well, technically speaking, there is no bar on a live-in relationship. If two adults willfully choose to live together, and they are competent to live together as far as the age factor is concerned, and they are not married to anybody else, and they are not violating any law as regards the marital laws are concerned, there is technically no bar on a live-in relationship. You see, I mean, legally speaking, there are certain perspectives which arise out of a live-in relationship. One, of course, is that if a live-in relationship goes bad, then where is the issue of security? I mean, where is the issue of what you would call not alimony but palimony? You know, I mean, there the Supreme Court has interpreted that if a man and a woman have projected themselves to be man and wife and have socially lived together as a couple, then a woman may be entitled to maintenance also.
Right.
And also that, I mean, live-in relationship cannot discount the idea of having sex. So if you have a child out of that relationship, whether that child is legitimate or illegitimate, the child has property rights.
Yes.
So whatever it be, I mean, there are certain protections which the law gives to such a relationship, but eventually I feel that it does complicate issues a whole lot more than it solves. You see, because once you get into such a relationship, the securities are far fewer. As Mrs. Mans correctly put, that, you know, when you're looking at it for companionship and you're looking at it for security and you've done all your worldly things, either you are divorced or you are separated or you're a widow, the issue is not that really. I think a large cross-section of society which is having live-in relationships is not that kind of people. Large society which is having live-in relationships is premarital relationships. It's actually people who are experimenting. It's not people who are taking it as if they've done it all and they've seen it all and now they are entering into it with a mature mind. In fact, you have a lot of immature minds getting into such a relationship, and therefore the ramifications are plenty.
Yeah, you know, because when you're young, then probably, yes, you will be immature, you just want to test and try what it is all about. And as you get older, so that is when this 50+ group, when they came in.
May I interrupt here? The 50+ ones are the ones who are usually either single due to the death of a partner, like she said, or you know, they have not really ever married before, and then at that point of time they want financial, social security and companionship. That aspect of people, we are talking about live-in relationship. For them, that's a different thing. They want companionship more. But like he said, the youngsters, they are getting in it for a totally different reason, and that I don't think is a very really thought about.
Reasons will be different. Naturally, different age groups.
And by the time they realize the ramification, like he said, it might be too late. We would be complicating a lot more things.
Do you think we are complicating things with live-in relationships?
No, we are not. I see, the way I look at it is live-in relationships involve the various dimensions. There is the emotional dimension, there is the legal dimension, and then there is the social dimension. In fact, legal, to a large extent, society as well as law have been biased against live-in relationships. Now changes are coming, as he mentioned.
Sure.
But in terms of emotions, I'm not very sure that I agree with you, because most of the time many people say, you know, our emotional bond is stronger than that of people who have been forced to get married, because we choose to live together.
Fair enough.
We are not forced to live together. That's fine. What happens to it, that may happen to a marriage also.
See,
So that is
what I
exactly
want
the
to say
point,
is,
yeah.
you see, live-in relationships so far are not governed by any statute or by any code. There are no laws, there are no parameters, there are no, kind of systems to take care of you before you get into it or after you get into it. The problem is that, you see, once you get into a live-in relationship, it is not that you have to follow a certain procedure to get into it. It's not like marriage. Marriage is governed by different laws, you see. It's a Hindu Marriage Act, Special Marriage Act. And I mean, marriage is almost a one-way street as far as the law is concerned. If you have to get out of marriage, then you can't just walk out, because there are certain grounds which are provided in a statutory form, say in the Hindu Marriage Act, which says that infidelity could be one ground, cruelty could be one ground. But, you know, I mean, if you do not fit into those grounds, you can't walk out of marriage. You could be an unhappy couple stuck in a situation but not fulfilling the grounds which are good enough for divorce. But in a live-in relationship, the outdoor is too clear.
It's so clear. Yeah.
You can walk out anytime you like and leave the relationship in a situation which is...
So does that finally work at the end?
It does.
We'll
Create more
find that
insecurity.
out after the short break. Do stay with us.